Welcome back, gentlemen, to Manhood University. I am excited to be back in the classroom. Yeah, it's been a while and we could talk about that or the new graphics, or we could just dive right into our new content. So I'm going to go with the new content. Look, if you're just joining us, there's about 4 semesters of audio and video to catch up on, plus another on leadership. So if you feel like you've just jumped into the deep end, I would recommend you start there first and then catch up with us. Today, though, we are in graduate school. What do I mean by that? Well, when you were a child, you thought as a child and perceived as a child, but when you became a man, you put away childish things. The subject matter from here on out assumes that you're ready to have the more mature conversation. Now, my pastor has a saying, God's favor can get you into places that your character can get you kicked out of. And that is the perfect setup for our first grad school lesson, which is about, you guessed it, character, or more specifically, the character building phase, which I suspect some of you watching may be right in the middle of. Now, a very basic definition for us to use is this. Character is who you are when no one's looking, which aligns perfectly with a plain-spoken definition of integrity, doing the right thing when no one is looking. All of us like to think that we have good character, that we would do the right thing even if no one were there to witness it. Building character, though, is a process, and you may find it's more difficult than you think to become the model of integrity that every man should aspire to be. Knowing how important character is should make us appreciate the times where we got to develop our character in the safe confines of growing up. So we'd have a framework, a foundation really, upon which our legal, moral, and ethical decisions could be built on. When we're smart, we take advantage of the models of character around us, those men we aspire to be like, so that when we didn't get picked to start on a sports team, or we saw someone drop a $50 bill, or when we were at our girlfriend's house and her mom had to rush out due to an emergency, leaving us alone with motive and opportunity, we just try to align our behavior with what we witnessed. With every good decision, good character is reinforced. But like I said, it's the character building phase that we're highlighting, and that's a little different. So we're going to use a very familiar story as our backdrop, and that's the story of the prodigal son. Now, before we go any further, let's please dispel one myth right out of the gate. Prodigal does not mean lost. It's actually defined as spending money or resources freely and recklessly, or wastefully extravagant, which is why this parable makes such a great backdrop. Oftentimes, we enter the character building phase because of our own poor decisions. Perhaps you bit off more than you could chew, and now you're in a job that you're not qualified for, though your resume says otherwise. Maybe you were blessed enough to be on the fast track at work, but that drove you to see yourself as an indispensable employee. But without a framework for character, you got careless with your work ethic and your moral choices, and you were shown the door. Maybe it's cyclical for you and your big mouth cost you the 4th or 5th job this year, and you've developed a habit of spending faster than you earn, so you've got nothing to fall back on. Or could it be a little more personal? Did you knock up your girlfriend and now you're having to give up some things while you're watching your friends go on with their lives? Could it be you made a choice to do something thinking you'd never get caught, and now you're having uncomfortable conversations with your wife or with a criminal defense attorney? When the wound is self-inflicted, it's worse, but there is a prescription for that. So let's look to the parable. So the majority of us know the story. Jesus introduces us to a young man who wants his inheritance before his father dies. Before the ink is dry on the check, he starts spending like there's no tomorrow. That's where the word prodigal comes in. And then the money runs out. Too ashamed to admit that he's wrong, he takes a job feeding pigs, and he gets so hungry he actually considers eating the pig slop. Whoa, stop right there. My friend John Coker would say, don't eat the slop. So look at our protagonist here when he imagines eating the pig slop. The Bible says he came to himself. Now that in and of itself is interesting because it doesn't say he found a self-help book, he heard a great sermon from a preacher, or that his AA sponsor shared the perfect antidote. It didn't even say that someone who cared about him gave him some sage advice. He came to himself. I don't know what yours is, but everyone has their own pig slop. It's that thing that you said you'd never, ever, ever, ever do under any circumstance. And then you actually find yourself considering it. It's a trigger for your conscience because once the thought enters your mind, you know you've hit the bottom. Maybe your pig slop is taking food off the table to feed your habit. For some people, it's selling their bodies. For others, it may be stealing from the company to cover their debts. For some, it's having to go crawling back to the job we started with. Whatever it is for you, the character building phase brings you to a place where you decide not to make the decision that got you in this mess again. It wasn't a mistake, it was a choice, and you have to own it. When and only when you come to the realization that your actions are the cause of and solution to this mess you're in is character reinforced. Yes, it is painful, but you cannot reject the character building phase. It is the phase that ensures you can afford the price of admission into every future opportunity, because only when you come face to face with whatever your pig slop is will you come to yourself. You'll say, I don't care if I have to work twice as long for half as much. Every dollar I earn will be an honest dollar. I don't care if I have to sit and smile while my boss takes credit for my ideas. I won't be caught trashing another leader in my organization again. I don't care if I have to find a new place to socialize. I won't let myself be dragged down by those types of people again. I don't care what people say about me. I'll never put myself into that compromising situation again. Now, there are some emotions you're going to experience during the character building phase, and you need to be aware of them. Fellas, doubt creeps in just before your breakthrough. As you make the first of many commitments to change, an experience comes up and makes you say, maybe this was all just coincidence. Could happen to anyone. Your new character choices are like medicine. Now, you know someone who was taking medication that was absolutely crucial, and as soon as they started feeling better, they would say, I don't need this medicine. I'm feeling much better. And then they'd fall ill again within a couple of weeks. Gentlemen, your prescription is written during this rough patch. And here's the thing, you signed off on it. Oh, God revealed it to you. He wrote it on the prescription pad of your heart, but you had to sign it. What was your prescription? Was it to abstain from alcohol, to leave a certain group of friends, to get help for your addiction, delete all the ex-girlfriends from your contacts, or unsubscribe from some inappropriate content? Was it to remove yourself from your current environment altogether? Whatever it was, you have to take that medicine daily as part of your new character. Now, if you're watching and you're thinking about someone you know who's right in the middle of this phase, let's give you a warning. Don't interrupt this part. When the prodigal son came to himself, he realized he was wrong. He repented, and repentance takes you to a place where you are aware of your wrong and not at anyone else's urging. It's important to let those we love come to that realization on their own, because when we interrupt this phase, it doesn't take. Remember, character is who you are when no one's looking. If your friend is in this mess because he squandered all of his money on prostitutes, as long as he's thinking, man, if I just had more money, or if I just been more discreet, then the lesson hasn't set in. It needs to be, if I wasn't involved with prostitutes, I wouldn't be in this mess. The drug addict's first response to getting clean may be, well, if I didn't just use so much cocaine. No, the character building process isn't complete until the idea is, I will not use drugs. Now, I have personally interrupted the character building phase of someone who really just needed to figure out how to stand on their own 2 feet, and all I did was ensure they'd be right back in that mess again. Men, you can be a shoulder to cry on, you can be a good ear to listen, you can offer great advice and encouragement, but when you recognize a man who hasn't accepted responsibility for his actions, do not be his enabler. Do not interrupt the process. Now, I like the way James puts it in the New Testament. He tells us to count it all joy when we fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of our faith produces patience. He then goes on to say we should let patience have its perfect work, that we may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Gentlemen, if this season for you is a character building season, let the process complete itself. The rantings of the newly clean addict who thinks his problem is all about moderation sound far-fetched, but they are no different than you getting back on your feet, making better money, and you start telling everyone on your new job what's wrong with the company and how you'd fix everything. Or when after counseling and couples therapy, your wife forgives you and someone sets that beautiful trap for you. Look, why can't 2 adults just enjoy each other's company? Think of that When after scratching by, paying off fines, court costs, and higher insurance premiums, you get your license back and you're throwing back a few with the same people who let you drive drunk the first time. Think of it when the money left over after child support is there and you're trying to scratch together to get someone to babysit just so you can go out hoping to get lucky. The process itself may feel like you're being disciplined, but self-discipline is a building block of character. Once you've decided to discipline yourself, you'll look back at all those people who egged you on, who gave you permission and looked the other way, and say, not gonna happen again. Not because someone else is breathing down your neck, because you came to yourself. Men, if you're going through hell, keep going. Don't reject the character building phase. It is one of those lessons that you'll keep repeating like a failed class until you get it right. But you will appreciate the stronger, better, steadfast version of yourself it produces. Well, that about does it for this lesson. Don't be afraid to share with the man in need. I'm glad to be back in the classroom. I'm looking forward to our next lesson here at Manhood University's Grad School. Take care and God bless.